6 o'clock, Wednesday, November 10th. I call the meeting of the DeKalb Township Board of Trustees to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Roll call, Trustee Bradlow.
Here.
Trustee King. He's absent at the moment. Trustee Thurman. Here. Trustee McNabb. Here.
Supervisor Hess present.
Sorry, Supervisor Huss.
Here. Let the record reflect that a quorum is present. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will everyone stand, please? And will our veteran in the room lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rich. Okay, next item is approval of agenda. Does anyone have any corrections or changes in the order of the agenda? Oh, no, that has to, it hasn't gone on this side. Sorry, I have to sign it after. So hearing no changes, the agenda is set. Okay, 601, Trustee King. Lisa?
Oh, here? Were you taking this in?
Oh, no, we already did that. But you came in at 601, we're calling. Okay, public comment? Do we have any that are turned in? Probably not, no? Okay, so we'll move on. Presentations, there's no presentations. Next is Supervisors Report. In your packet is the Supervisors Report. I'm going to update you on some things. So you're aware that we use this for our marketing for our general assistance and emergency assistance. So we're going to be updating this so that one side is English and then the other side is Spanish. I've been going to some meetings in the Pleasant Street neighborhood and we're talking a lot about having materials in Spanish for, try to reach more of the residents. So if anyone has any resources that could assist with that translation, that's something that we're going to need. There are some other places we could reach out to, but if you have anyone in your friends or family.
Sister-in-law is a bilingual teacher in Corporate.
Oh, okay. So could we maybe?
I'm sure, yeah, I can reach out to her.
Okay, thank you, Rich.
And I know somebody too on the school board. I have a question if I can. What's gonna happen to the information? Like if one side is English and the other side is Spanish, aren't you gonna lose some of the content?
It may have to be a bigger thing.
Oh.
We're gonna keep the content. We're just gonna have it all on one side.
Okay.
Yep, so, yeah, so that will be updated. But we did, of the way the poster is now, or the flyer is now, we did have some posters made.
Oh.
And so I kept several copies out there on the table. If you want to grab any on your way out, if you have anywhere where you can hang these, that'd be great. And then we'll, when we update these, we'll update the posters as well. We just made a handful of copies of these. So, and then occasionally they increase the amount of general assistance. And that was recently done. So effective December 1st, the payment level for a single individual is going from $319 to $322. That's substantial, but it is. That's what it's going to. On December 4th, we have our second paper shredding and recycling event that we'll be doing here, weather permitting, because we'll be using the garage again. You have flyers for that at your seats, and so if you have anywhere that you could post those, that'd be fantastic. We'll be doing the same marketing we did last time, which seemed to produce good results. We had a lot of people attending, and then once again, board members, if you can make it, if you have, like Lisa, I know that your body is giving you some trouble right now, but if
I can make it.
yeah, even directing people in or mingling with our volunteers, The last group of kids from the National Honor Society, the last time they were here, they expressed that they'd like to help again. So that's our first pick for helping out. If they aren't able to help, then I will reach out to another group at the high school and try to get some more, young people in here, get them acquainted with township government. So, and then we still need the sexual harassment training certificates from a couple of people. If you had to do that for work, I would imagine you could give us the same certificate.
Title 9 and Title 4, one of those.
Yeah,
I did both last year.
Oh,
I would think we would in some way just need to dignify it's one of the programs that we as the township are sanctioning,
Okay.
if it's a online course. I mean, there is the one that the state provides, so I would say if it's that curriculum, I mean, and it's a relatively short presentation. I mean, it's not, I think you can complete it in 20, 30 minutes, no more than that. If it's the same one, I would agree. I think the certificate of completion from that would be fine.
okay,
If it's something else, we may just need to make sure it satisfies the requirements.
okay. So maybe if you can show me what you have for NIU, and then we'll compare it against what we have. And
And I would tend to think NIU, it's a government, you know what I mean?
right,
That's probably going to be
Probably the
sufficient.
same one.
Yeah.
The state one.
Yeah.
Ours was the state one. City.
okay. Yeah, so let's maybe next week we could talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
And see if we can get that out of the way. Next, also next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday is the Toi Virtual Conference. And at each of your places, this is from the Perspectives magazine. If you haven't received it, it's a schedule of the sessions. Of course, this building, this room is open at any time. If any of you would like to come and watch any of the things together, we can do that because we're not talking about township business, so we can be together to do that. And then just a little bit of a calendar of some of the events that I attended recently. The NIU Township Management Academy, which was great for networking with other townships officials. It's the first time I've had the opportunity to do that in this role because of COVID. So was able to even get some resources from them, which has been great. And then on the 25th, we hosted a meet and greet with the other township supervisors that are in DeKalb County. And a lot of discussion took place here. That was Zoomed and we recorded that. So those that couldn't be here had an opportunity to watch it. We shared materials and are continuing to have dialogue through email about how different townships handle different things. So it certainly has been beneficial to me, and I think to those in smaller townships, it's been beneficial to them because some of them don't even have, regular attorneys that they can turn to for assistance. A couple Thursdays ago, there's a listening session on poverty, which was hosted by Representative Kiker and was well attended by social service agencies, and just some really great dialogue about the cycle of poverty and how some systems really work against it. So we expect to continue to have those conversations in the community, and hopefully some systemic changes will come from that. Pleasant Street neighborhood, I mentioned that, where we're discussing how to most effectively reach out to residents in that neighborhood. And then I also had a conversation, this is kind of the next two things, with both the Salvation Army and BAC about the increased demand for services that they're seeing for food services. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the agenda because we have that food insecurity line item. I just would like to get some board input on how to, what we want from those requesting funds for food insecurity needs. FOIA requests are on the next page. Those are continuing to come in, and you can see the amount of time that's being spent on those. And these These are also posted on our website. And then the last thing, just want to acknowledge tomorrow being Veterans Day. Thank you to our veterans in this room and in our community for their service. And there's a ceremony tomorrow at, is it Memorial Park where the clock is? So there's a ceremony there tomorrow at 10:30 to honor our veterans in the community. And then there's a lot of other events going on.
Is the clock covered up for a reason? Like,
they
they
were
gonna
working-
unveil it?
Yeah, they were working on it. I think it'll be unveiled tomorrow because it's also a ribbon cutting for that.
Oh, okay. I'll be at work, but I'm just curious.
One of the service organizations just provided the funding for that. We have that repair. So any questions about anything on my report?
Nope.
Okay, all right. Clerk's report?
Yeah, I'll be graduating from NIU. I'll be getting my master's in data analytics. As long as I don't, bomb anything by next Monday, I won't. Everything will be good. So hopefully expect some faster email replies and you'd be able to have a little bit more time here. I'm excited for that to make sure that, everything at the township that happens is full recorded and accessible.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any commissioner?
I have nothing.
Russell?
The assessment deadline to file with the county board of review just passed yesterday. It is the slowest year on record since 2005. Most of that, I'm sure, is due to the booming housing market. So people can't really complain about an assessment if their value is higher than what it is. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Trustee reports? Trustee Bradwell?
I have nothing.
Trustee Green?
I just have a question, actually, that I didn't ask when you did your report. So VAC didn't request anything from us.
They did not. Their executive director, and you know what? I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Their executive director was having some health issues. And so they were not aware that the grants were put up.
Okay.
And so that's why they reached out to me.
Yeah.
Because they didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because you brought that up with the social service grants, I failed to mention that we did distribute all those checks that were approved by you last month. And in distributing that, we asked for, I made set up an agreement with each of the social service agencies. And so we asked for their logo. And we asked for them to provide a video that briefly describes the program that the funding is going toward. And then we'll be adding a page to our website that's a partners page. And so it will have those organizations and a little bit about us funding those programs and make sure that residents are aware that they can access those programs free of charge. So thank you for bringing that up.
One more comment. I mean, I know that people have the right to FOIA, and I know that that's, you can. I just hope that we can maybe reach some agreement. It appears to be the same person. And it really takes up a lot of time, which takes away from other things. So I don't know how we can work to reach some compromise or remedy this.
Yeah.
I just hope that we can, because it's not the best use of time on this end. And even though you can, I mean, I'm sure people don't, people are FOIA in Chicago and other places all the time.
Mhm.
I think, this person appears to be pretty local and can come in and maybe, I don't know, see some stuff or look at some stuff, or we can have a meeting and try to figure out what we can do
Right.
so that the township isn't spending so much time doing this, which takes away, I'm sure, from other things that
Right.
could occur.
And so that's why we're gonna item
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
IF, that we're gonna visit that exact conversation.
Oh, okay.
A little bit later.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, you're good, but thank you for sharing your,
Okay.
yep, thank you. Trustee Thurman? Trustee McNutt?
Nothing for me.
All right,
McNabb got a promotion though, so I guess you're not retiring.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so congratulations on
Thank
your
you.
promotion.
Sticking around a little longer.
Yeah,
I see November started. Yep, I started a week late, but I'm just now starting.
same hours or will your hours change? Will you be a daytime?
It'll be more of a daytime gig.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's some perks, huh?
Yeah, it's all good.
all right. Next item G, bill paying. So approval of October audit report, November bills to pay. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the October audit report in the amount of $399,030 or $399,031.79. And November bills to pay in the amount of $107,411.43.
I will.
Second.
Yes. Thanks. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call please.
All right, roll call. Trustee Thurman? Yes. Trustee King?
Yes.
Supervisor House?
Yes.
Trustee McNutt?
Yes.
Trustee Bradlow?
Yes.
With 5 ayes and 0 nays, the motion passes.
Okay, next item is to receive, file, and approve treasurer's October budget report. So can I get a motion to receive, file, and approve the treasurer's October budget report?
So moved.
Thurman? I'll second. Bradlow seconds. Roll call please.
All right, Trustee Bradlow?
Yes.
Trustee Thurman? Trustee King?
Yes.
Trustee McNutt?
Yes.
Supervisor House?
Yes.
With 5 ayes and 0 nays, the motion again passes.
Item H, unfinished business, we have none. Item I, new business. First item is approval of the DeKalb Township Road District levy. So I thought for this, we'd have a discussion first, and then once we were done hearing about it, then we would make a motion for passing it.
Yeah, I can start, I suppose.
It is road district levy.
What's
It's
that?
road district levy.
So for this year, we're asking for a 4.99% increase from last year. So, you know what, for some of you that are new, I guess I should explain this, because we're in a detail or tax cap county, that's the maximum increase you can ask for without going to referendum. The 4.99% on the money we received last year, so that's what we are asking. Due to the increased cost of steel, really it's everything across the board. The surcharges, for instance, our plow blades that we use about 1 per truck per year. Last year we paid roughly like $245 for them. This year they're $397, and it'll be a $100 surcharge probably to have them delivered from Ohio. Our fuel costs, I've got an example here. Last year for diesel fuel, we're paying $2.35 a gallon. This year it's $2.78. You have to understand what I pay for fuel here is a lot cheaper than what you pay at the pump. My volume though is up, so we're, you know, it's nothing for us to have 1,000 gallons of fuel delivered here twice a month. So, you know, between those increases, equipment increases and costs have gone just through the roof. I haven't received pricing for our new plow truck yet. I'm waiting on that right now. Estimates put us at about $260,000. 10 years ago, that same truck was purchased for $205,000. So, you know, in order to hold our own and keep moving forward, when fuel prices are up, asphalt prices are up, it's an oil-based product. So keep maintaining and resurfacing roads next year. And that's kind of sums it up with why I'm asking for that kind of an increase. It amounts to about $63,000 in total increase on my levy, or the amount of money that I'll get for next year.
said the consumption, the fuel consumption also went up?
Yeah, we'll just use more, so projections are this winter, temperatures will be colder. Snow will increase and winds will increase. So there'll be a lot of days in the country where we're out that it isn't even snowing because it's drifting. So, and every time we send 4 trucks out for an 8-hour day, that's 400 gallons of fuel.
Not to mention overtime.
And then overtime on, yeah, anything on the weekends or after 5 PM or before 7 AM. On an average snow day, we start here at about 3 AM.
So I guess the easiest question is what happens if you don't get the 4.99%?
Well, and that's what's really, you asked the county for a 4.9, and Rich can explain the logistics of that better than I can. You're requesting a 4.99% increase. So this year, it's probably something we will get and also lower our tax rate to the homeowner or property owner. With TIF coming off, TIF 1 is coming off the end of this year, and then with the new development that's happened in this community, you know, so it actually, even asking for that maximum increase that you can ask for, it can decrease the rate per household or per property
And it,
or parcel.
in theory, depending, well, actually,
It's all.
it's not even depending. If, even at 5% overall assessment, available assessment value increased roughly 10.5%. So even if you increase 5, each property owner should see a slight decrease on our portion due to the amount of new value that is taxable, basically.
Makes sense.
So as a homeowner, myself, our line item, our value, our amount paid next year should be a little less towards DeKalb Township and Road District. I know it sounds funny asking for more money, but paying less, but it's because of all the new growth.
That makes sense. Thanks for the explanation.
So yeah, unless anybody has any questions.
My only question is it possible for you to meet your goals if you didn't go 4.99?
I think it would be very difficult.
Okay.
And in these years, like Rich just explained, are when you want to capture that money. So on the other years that it isn't going that way, you can then lower it. So you don't ask for such a large increase per property.
Okay.
And the question on the opposite side, will 4.99 get you to where you want to be?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we'll hold our own, you know. When it comes to roads, there's never enough money. There just isn't, you know.
Kind of like my personal budget, it's never enough money.
There's a lot to be said of that. You know, we do our fair share, you know. There's a big article in the paper today about Twombly Road, and 50% of that cost came from this road district. And we've also purchased a tractor. We're gonna be the ones cleaning the sidewalks out there with an agreement with the city of DeKalb. So, you know, so it's added, you know, with that little bit of an increase, we're adding a lot of things like those sidewalks being cleaned. It's something we just have never done before, you know. But I think it's something that needs to be done.
So we getting a lot of value, what you're trying to say, we getting a lot of value.
A lot of, for a $60,000 increase, you know, that's a lot of value. And I don't want to do something that I can't keep doing. And saying that, like about those sidewalks, I'm set on, we will not be doing that on overtime. That'll be a Monday through Friday work schedule for those sidewalks.
And that's
Mostly
not-
for children to get to school,
Mhm.
students at NIU. On the weekend, if it snows on a Friday night, that sidewalk won't get cleaned till Monday morning. The only one that'll do that on a weekend, if you see someone, will be me, because I'm salaried. It doesn't matter what they have.
So, and cleaning those sidewalks will be sustainable, so it's just not a one-year thing, it's
It'll be
like here on out.
yes. Trying to work with the city, and make sure that things like that are done, you know. Because a lot of that sidewalk is adjacent to farmland. Well, you're not gonna get that cleaned off, the property owner is not gonna clean that, the church is there, so there's all new sidewalk in front of them, you can't, I don't really expect them to do that as well, so, it's just, we're evolving from a rural township or road district into more of an urban area. So,
Do you see that as a good thing or a bad thing or somewhere?
no, I think it's a necessity, for Eden Garden and for suburban apartments in the States, for those, suburban apartments in the States are not in the city limits. That's all county. But Eden Garden is, and the church is, that are on probably in that area. So, those little portions that are the cities, it's hard for them to justify to go all the way out there, But for us, we're gonna be out there. We both plow it, the city and the township. So I just think when I've been working on redoing that road since 2013. It's taken me this long to get it through the city of DeKalb to get that road to where it is now. And it's really, really nice right now compared to what it was.
Drove it all the way here, it's right by my house.
Yeah, and it's not only nice, but it's sustainable that road should stay in very good shape for 25 years.
That's good, man.
Oh, that's good.
So,
That's better than the tollway.
well, not as much traffic. Traffic kills a road.
Right.
Traffic count kills a road. So there's a lot of bus traffic out there. Whether it be school bus traffic, and there's a lot of Husky bus traffic out there. So, and it's all and that was when the road was rough. You put it, once people figure out it's not that bad anymore, the traffic count will go through the roof. It's just the nature of things, so.
So along the, promise last question about the road. So
No, go ahead.
So along the same line, will there be a speed limit posted on those roads?
So the speed limit right now is 45 miles an hour. And that's something I'm looking into, is to lower that to 35 miles an hour.
There's no speed limit sign?
No, there's no speed limit sign.
There's a speed limit sign coming into right at Rosenau Way. I think it's Rosenau Way. It's how it is. There's a 45 mile an hour speed limit sign right there. West of there, when it goes rural on both sides of the road, that's all 55 miles an hour. But, and I'm gonna meet with Zach Gill, the city engineer, to see if the city will have to pass an ordinance, and then I have to go to county board to lower that speed limit on my sections. Because it's really from Annie Glidden Road, approximately 750 feet. No, it's a little more than that. It's like 1,400 feet to the church property is Township Road. In front of the church, because of annexation laws in Illinois, it's the city limits. Then where there's a little cornfield on the north side, bean field on the south side, that goes back to Township. And then in front of Eden, so from Rosenau Way all the way to that field is city limits. So when the city annexed Eden Garden and annexed the Baptist church, they by state statute have to take that road. So it's really sectioned out there, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh, that makes sense.
And with I will say the city and I work or the road district work very well together on this kind of stuff.
Any other questions about the road district levy? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the DeKalb Township Road District levy? Just state the amount.
We might as well.
Okay. And the amount of $1,311,047.
So moved.
Second.
Second by trustee McNett. Roll call, please.
Trustee King,
Yes, aye.
trustee McNutt,
Yes.
trustee Thurman,
Yes.
trustee Bradlow,
Yes.
supervisor Hess.
Yes.
5 ayes and 0 nays, the motion passes.
Okay, the next item is the DeKalb Township levy. And so that is made up of the general town fund, which includes the assessor and the cemetery, and then the general assistance fund. And so in your book, you can see how that's broken down for the amount levied, where that money is going to be directed to. So we're looking for $922,000 for the general fund, and then $210,000 for the general assistance fund. It was explained during Craig's presentation that the EAV, so the number of parcels, properties that contribute to paying those tax dollars is on the rise significantly this year, thanks to the termination of TIF, the central TIF area. All those properties are captured as new property. Correct. Okay. And then Ferrara coming into our township also contributes to a substantial increase. So the total amount of money that the town side is looking to collect is $1,132,000. And in each of your spots, I left just a little chart of what the levy has been the last 3 years. So 2019, 2020, and 2021. Now 2021 is still an estimate because they have to finalize those numbers. But because of the growth in the EAV, the taxpayers in this community will be looking at a lower rate, which is 5.23% lower than last year. So the taxpayers will be on their own contributing less to the township than they did last year.
Assessments went up 1.62% overall. On the equalization factor, you go up by 1.62, rate goes down by 5.23. Obviously, that's
So
sorry.
So one of the things that reasons that we're asking for an increase of dollars over last year is for capital fund. You know, we always have to be cognizant of the demands on the township and the services that we provide to the public. And it's becoming pretty evident that space is becoming an issue in this building. And so we want to explore some ways that we can make sure that we all have sufficient space to carry out the different duties that each of us do, whether that be an expansion on the building, a different building, but you know, over time, this is the year we have to capture all that new growth. You know, it'd be great if we see that again in the near future, but we're not going to be. Facebook's not in DeKalb Township, so while other taxing bodies here will receive those dollars, we won't be one of the parties that do. So this is the year to capture new growth, and we'd like to put that into a capital fund or future needs of the township.
Can I ask, how does that help or hurt us in the event that, you know, the people who do the little sue the township, sue all of that?
So maybe we just talk kind of general concept of that, and if we want to get more specific, we can always you know, talk about, you know, closed session. I think there's an imminent risk of that, but the bottom line is this: is the tax levy objections are always predicated on looking at our prior 3 years expenditures versus our levy plus our reserve. So the levy, and I believe Supervisor Hess's explanation is that a large amount, actually more of the increase, more than even what the increase is proposed to be, is being allocated into capital fund for potential space expansion, office expansion, whatever, and that could take several forms, but that's where that's going. So that is, you know, worth noting that we're not asking for more money to put it in a pot of gold, right, that we sit on.
Right.
It's being dedicated for a specific purpose. So that is actually helpful to
Okay,
those types of potential objections, not to say that somebody couldn't still look at that or consider that, but actually, I think the way this is structured is somewhat beneficial to mitigating the risk
okay.
Right.
of that liability.
And it seems like now would be a reasonable time to say this. So with, there's a surplus of funds in that TIF that they're closing out that will be payable in the early part of 2022. We're going to receive those funds probably before our fiscal year closes. And so probably not at next month's meeting because I won't have it posted for 30 days, but I'm going to be bringing to you a revised budget because it's about $31,000 that we're going to be getting back in those surplus funds. And so I'd like to, I'd like to revise the budget for a couple of reasons. One is to create the capital fund for this year so that those funds will go right into that so that we can start this capital fund earlier and those will be earmarked for that. And then, one of the other main reasons is since we increased the emergency assistance payments, like tripled them, and we have a lot more people coming to us for emergency assistance. I believe that there was $20,000 allocated in that line item, and we're going to need to grow that, shift some money from general assistance to emergency assistance, and it's going to be more than 10%. So that's going to require a budget amendment. The capital fund will be able to put some money in that this year and hopefully start allocating that for that purpose and kind of safeguarding from future lawsuits.
Thank you.
So there's several sheets in your packet relating to the tax levy ordinance. This first group is what the amount levied is and the funds that that money will be going into. The second is a summary showing that we're requesting $1,132,000. And the next is the certification of the tax levy ordinance. And then the truth in taxation. So we are not asking for more than 5%. So therefore, we do not have to have any hearing about the levy. If we were exceeding that 5%, we would have to hold a public hearing on it. And the truth in taxation is just declaring that we're not doing that. Same with the road district. So any questions? Okay. All right, so may I get a motion to approve the DeKalb Township levy in the amount of $1,132,000? So Trustee Thurman, make a motion.
Second.
Trustee King, seconded. Roll call, please.
Trustee McNutt,
Yes.
trustee Bradlow,
Yes.
Supervisor Hess,
Yes.
trustee Thurman,
Yes.
trustee King.
Yes.
With 5 ayes and 0 nays, the motion passes.
All right, next in your packet is the 2022 meeting dates and holiday closings. The meeting will continue to be held the second Wednesday at 6 p.m. unless it's noted otherwise. Our annual meeting always starts at 7. And then the holidays, and I'd like to note the addition of the June 20th, Juneteenth Independence Day holiday.
Yes. Mhm. That makes me happy. But everybody, holiday is a holiday.
All right, so everyone who's in, this can be a voice vote, is that correct?
It could be a voice vote.
Okay, all right. So everyone in favor of the 2022 board meeting and holiday closing calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Is unanimous, passes.
And then next is the minutes of the regular Board of Trustees meeting of October 20th, 2021. Had a chance to review that. Any discussion on that? Everyone in favor of the minutes as they're presented?
And I apologize, Supervisor Hess, we should still have a motion in a second before the voice.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, so a motion to approve the regular Board of Trustees. I'll second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? I need to go back and do the last.
I was gonna say, I
Okay.
didn't note that we had a motion second on the prior item.
So let's go back to item C. Can I get a motion to approve the 2022 board meeting and holiday closing calendar?
So moved.
Bradlow, second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next in your board packet is a committee on youth. Grant request for the troop 4 of the Boy Scouts. We're looking for assistance to purchase GPS, compass, and handheld weather station, and they provided a nice summary of why they need that, how that helps the boys move up in rank, and also teaches them how to navigate the outdoors. Anything else, Chad, that you would add to that? Okay.
Looks good.
All right. So can I have a motion to, or is there any discussion about that? Any questions?
Is it a price on that?
$450.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
It's on
Oh.
second page.
Yeah, okay.
And this is the same scout troop that I believe helps the road district out with a lot
Do a lot
of
of
things.
ditch cleaning and stuff for us, so, which has worked out very well.
And then one of the boys from this troop is starting his Eagle project on Saturday at Oakwood Cemetery. So, so can I get a motion to approve the grant request in the amount of $450 for Boy Scout Troop 4?
I will.
Yeah, I'll second. Any roll call on this?
It's an expenditure. We
Okay.
should.
All right, roll call, please.
Roll call, trustee Bradlow,
Yes.
trustee Thurman,
Yes.
supervisor Hess,
Yes.
trustee King,
Yes.
trustee McNabb.
Yes.
5 ayes and 0 nays, the motion passed.
Next is a copy of resolution 2021-002T. The resolution approving policy for website posting of board meeting information. So just a little bit of history here. This resolution was passed in January of 2021. Based on the history that I know, it was late 2020 when the township entered into a contract to build a new website. Township and Road District.
Yeah, I mean, we started it in May of 2020. But yeah,
And
when it finally went up around late fall of 20. Sorry.
so with some positions transitioning here, the build was maybe a little bit slower than anticipated. And so the build was still happening at the time this resolution was passed. And we weren't quite, what I've been told is we weren't quite sure of exactly how much of the space of the website was going to be used for communicating our services to the public. And so to be conservative of space, the discussion about agendas and meeting minutes and board packets, there was a discussion about that. And that's when the board decided that they would, on the website, post the agenda and the meeting minutes and not the board packet. Well, now that we have the website built up, we're continuing to build it, but we can kind of see the direction it's going. we do have space available. And so I was hoping tonight we could have, I don't have a resolution. I was hoping tonight we could have a discussion about maybe what information we could add to the website. And one of the primary reasons for this is every month you see these FOIA requests. And Lisa, as you alluded to, it is just consuming so much time on our part. And so when things are posted on the website, if someone submits a FOIA request and the information's on the website, we're not obligated to, we can redirect them to the website. So one of the primary things, the board packets, and the board packet is shared information of the township and the road district. And so we both are comfortable with all information that is shared with the board being posted on the website. But I do want to say that the agenda has to be posted 48 hours before the meeting. And because of Jody's schedule and her working only 2 days a week, Jody's our bookkeeper. Our trustees know that. She only works 2 days a week. And so a lot of times we're doing bill paying up until the day of the board meeting, or definitely through Monday. And so I don't want to give any false pretenses that when we post the agenda to the website that necessarily the board packet's going to be posted at the same time. So just want to put that out there and think about that.
Yeah, how much space is available on the server then?
It's a great question, Dale.
Yeah, I can't answer that either. I mean, if I could, I think I like the board packet itself. It's been requested almost every month here for the last few months. So, you see them, you guys all get them, put them out there. Maybe it'll slow the things down,
So the board pack is already available, so that won't be an incremental.
Right.
And it will be every month that will be accumulating, the board pack will be left on there.
And I think too, something to consider is how far back do we go, do we go a year? Do we go a 4-year term? A couple of years? I don't even know where we're at.
What we currently have on there is 2 years worth. So we have all of 2021, except for December, and then 2020. And so just, other website, I was just on the county's website today when I was doing some reading about the levies. And so they have the current year's information up there, 2020's information for, what's that document called that we get? It's got all the property tax, like the history of it and the breakdown of the EAV and
I don't get it.
okay, all right. So anyway, they have the current year's tax information on there, and then they have a link for previous years. So it's stored in there. And I thought maybe that's an approach we could take, is that, we have the current year's agenda, board packet, and minutes. And then previous years, after the year is over, then we collapse that into a single link that they click on, and then all the months would be brought up. But the question is, how far back do we go? Because when the website was built in 2020, so it has 2020 and 2021. And we would, have to retrieve that information and build.
2 years seems all right.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things we can gather is how much space we do have. We could say 2 years and we don't have 2 years worth of space. So if we didn't know that how much we have, we say we can allocate 10% of the space towards this, and we can make an estimate and say, it comes up 3 years. So it just doesn't seem like we're making an arbitrary decision about how much to keep. Do we want to make that dependent on space? Or I don't know if there's any
They didn't tell
And I think
us.
it could also determine on how big these board packets are on a monthly basis, you know.
But the board package shouldn't be an issue because what happens electronically is that since it's already available for us, it becomes appointed to it. Like you said, you keep it month after month.
So that's what the board, it's gonna be all the year's worth of board packets, which will start taking space.
That's what I said. I will look at what we're doing right now for a month. It'd be easy math. We can look at what we do for a month, for how much paper it is now, and multiply that by 10 and just say maybe 10% of our space can be allocated or 20% can be allocated to storing it.
Okay.
Supervisor Hess, may I just address Chairman's comments? We did actually have reason in the past 2 months to have gotten an update from our provider. And I believe, and I'm going a little bit off rough math, I'm not going to be able to quote gigabytes or megabytes or anything like that. My understanding is we were somewhere in the 6 to 7% usage.
Yeah, I couldn't remember, so I wasn't gonna bring it up.
It's less than 10 is I'm fairly confident that was the number. And, you know, just practically speaking, an agenda is 1 or 2 pages, minutes, or, you know, they're actually included in the board packets, but I mean, are going to be what, 3, 4 pages, the rest of this. So I mean, I think you are talking about some multiplier of, you know, what we currently have. I don't, if that's a 2 times multiplier, I don't know that.
I mean, we will still have these for any kind of, you know, FOIA request or something dating back almost forever. So, you know, but that's where, you know, how, if someone really wanted to look back and see what went on here in 1975, or even, you know, 5 or 8 years ago, they can file a FOIA request and receive any of that information. I just don't want to bog this thing down with just this stuff because I think both of us have a lot of other things that we also want to put out there, you know.
Yeah, we eventually want to grow or change the general assistance setup so that people can actually apply online. And so, and you know, as we expand some services, you know, we're
Things
gonna
a little
want
more
to add those.
interactive and things like that that might take up a lot of space. You know, asking I was in a thing in Bloomington last week, you know, I think there was 110 of us there, you know, and this is from Township and different places, you know, and the census was amongst most of them, whether it be down by Springfield or, like I say, the suburbs, about 2 years is what most people are doing. You know, some are doing a full term, like a 4 years, but you know, and then just keep dropping the year or dropping per month as they go ahead. You know, so
Are they doing the interactive? Do they have the interactive?
yeah, they're doing a lot more of that, yeah, and stuff we'd like to do, like, you know, I mean, for instance, for the road district, you know, kind of a timeline of when that snowplow is coming by your house to know when to leave for work, those kind of things, when it's, you know, is the road safe or maybe not safe, you know, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff out there. Someday I'll have the time for that, I think, but you know, and
Do we
then I
have an
know-
estimate of how much space that takes up to do that?
That's or even how much space costs, because if the projects you're talking about, I think they're very worthy. And then if it's gonna cost us $100 more to get more double space, why not do that?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think until we have a sure answer on the space
Okay, so I'll find out how much space is available.
and how much additional space costs.
That's, yeah, and that will probably be all kinds of,
Yeah, and I don't know if you may have to answer that, but just what you anticipate the space is gonna be for the projects that you wanna put online, the space requirements for that.
Dale, that is a question that I don't know if I'd ever be able to answer, to be quite honest with you.
Same with me. Yeah. I mean, I just want general pages and, but I do like, you know, in the interest of transparency, I know we all want to be transparent with our township government, having, you know, a couple of years worth of the financials so people can look at those. You know, I think that is something we would all be in favor of.
And also, we talking fiscal years or
What's that?
we talking fiscal years versus calendar years?
We currently have it set up as calendar years, the way that they're set up.
And you know, it depends on how you want to follow it, because of fiscal year, our fiscal years start April 1st, you know. So if tracking where the expenditures are coming and going on a per year basis, you'd almost want it set up on an April 1st,
Right, that's what
in my opinion. You know, really the only thing we do on an anniversary, first of the year type stuff is what you just voted on the schedule for the building is almost the only thing that comes to mind that we do. Working from.
It's my term,
And the tax levy.
and my term.
Yeah, it starts changing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, and the assessment stuff.
Don't worry about me, it's okay.
So, yeah, and then I want to find out from our website provider, to collapse a year, like, so how much is involved in that? Because we also have to be cognizant of Karen, who wears, about 6 to 10 different hats around here, is the person who's doing our website, maintaining things on our website. And we don't want to get to the point where we have to pay an additional person because it becomes so complicated, to do anything to our website.
And I think that's a lot of what we're discussing is relieving some of the FOIA request information, because Karen is the FOIA officer for both the road district and the township. And maybe by putting some of this stuff online is going to relieve some of those FOIA requests, and free her time up.
Well, that's all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why it may be worth the money if it's just a couple of spaces, the cheapest
Exactly.
thing right
Right.
now. If it's a couple $100 a year and we can store, 10 years, and this stuff is relatively small compared to what we can just store for data. So
Yeah.
I think we have a better idea once we know how much size we have.
Okay.
You can tell this is other life, right?
Yeah. Well, then I will get that information and I will shoot all of you an email with that information. Just I ask that you don't reply to it, just so that you have that information and can maybe start formulating some thoughts about what you want to look like. So then we'll have another discussion in December, and then maybe by January, be able to have a resolution.
That'd be perfect.
Is it possible for us to have some parameters on how much time Karen can put her, commit her day to?
The FOIA Act has some of that built into it. The 14 hours, I think that's unreasonable. And I think that's the term that they're using.
Undue burden.
The undue burden. 14 hours is an undue burden. And that's one of the, just my opinion, it should have been rejected, just on the amount of time.
Well, that particular FOIA was revised. It was revised 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, I can't respond on that at all, when one comes in, it does create, and it's not, it's Karen, sometimes it's myself, a lot of times it's Mary. So it's not just the one person, and I don't, I agree with the FOIA Act. I think anyone should be able to ask for any information that where their tax dollars are going, or anything that deals with this, whether it be the road district or the township. I think what we're talking about is trying, because we've had this discussion already of maybe bringing in another full-time employee just to help with some of this overburden.
We're just spending a lot of time. Do
So
you
if-
want to address the
Sure.
excessive time or?
Right,
Which-
certainly I don't have day-to-day knowledge of how much time Karen spends, for example, on a single FOIA request. I actually think this is very illuminating to see just the totals. But under FOIA, there are things considered voluminous requests. To meet that definition, you're talking about several hundreds of pages of documents to meet that requirement. Even then, it doesn't necessarily immunize us from producing it. It just may give us an ability to get extra time, and or if the person's seeking documents like in print, to assess some sort of a fee for the cost that we're incurring for that. It will never offset the staff time. And unfortunately, staff time is not something we can collect through FOIA. And if you look at these particular requests, you'll see that, they're 82 pages, they're 100 and some pages. They're not in themselves what would be considered an unduly burdensome request in a normal circumstance, unless there was something extenuating that required gathering and collecting of, separated data all over the office or different locations or something like that. We have had occasionally discussions about whether some of these FOIA requests would meet those categories where they would be considered unduly burdensome, voluminous requests. So that is something I feel, I believe staff, Supervisor House included in that, are cognizant of. So I think we're looking at it, but what you're seeing in that report, nothing rose to the level of, in terms of the scope of the request, being a voluminous request or something that we felt comfortable asserting as unduly burdensome.
So, if by adding more of those documents to the website, hopefully we can decrease the amount of FOIAs that we have to fulfill. So I will find out that information and send it to all of you in email so that we can continue this discussion next month. And then also just wanted to point out, so I've been in this position just shy of 6 months, and obviously when I started, I had to prioritize where I was going to be directing my time and attention, and some of our larger programs were prioritized, understanding general and emergency assistance and trying to build community collaboration so that we can refer people to that. Social service grants, those were coming up, so it was important that I understood that process, and spent a lot of time building that rubric and developing the grant application so that we got all the information, trying to engage in as many educational opportunities as possible and understand the statutory responsibilities of the supervisor. So those things really filled my plate over the last several months. And so it's now that I'm starting to look at some of these internal policies and, how we can be more efficient. And so that's why I wanted to take a look at that, and would love to have your feedback next month on that. And then also in your board packet every month is a summary of the bills that were paid in the previous month and a summary of the bills that are to be paid this month. And every township handles things differently, but we previously had the practice of passing around in here the invoices. And so I have decided to discontinue that practice because you have the summary in your board packet every month. And if there's ever a time when you're looking at that something stands out to you and you'd like to have more information about it, please contact myself, Craig, if it's a road and bridge thing. If it's assessor thing, contact Rich. We'd be happy to pull that invoice for you and share it with you, or you can come in anytime. Contact Jody, Karen, anyone at this office can help more with that. But I know when I was a trustee and this was passed around, to me, it was a real distraction because I didn't really understand why everything was in there. And then it took my attention away from what was happening at the meeting. And so hopefully that will, this new procedure will help you all. So any comments or thoughts on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
And we can make that summary available too online.
The summary it's part of the board packet, so it would be available so any member of the public can look at that.
I think the more materials that we can make immediately accessible, the better. It just, builds a good relationship between the township and us. And as the clerk, that's definitely something I'm concerned about, materials being accessible. And I wanted to say too, that storage really shouldn't be too much of an issue. You should be able to get a year's worth of agendas and board packets in about 60 megabytes. And I know we have multiple gigabytes of storage. And so just 1 gigabyte would give us the ability to have about 16 years notes if we
Well,
want.
we'll work, we have a contract with OC, so
Sure.
we'll, talk to
being-
them and, thank you for your contribution. though. And so, that's a direction that will go. So if you notice this is a lot thinner, that's the reason why. But for every month, we will continue to have to sign off on that. Okay, so we'll revisit this conversation next month. And then the last thing I wanted to discuss was the funding. As I mentioned, Voluntary Action Center reached out. They currently have 24 senior citizens on the waiting list for their Meals on Wheels programs. And they reached out to the township to see if we could assist in any way with bringing that down. They calculate that it's about $500 a year to fulfill, that's just the raw materials for the meals, for the service they provide. So between VAC and Salvation Army saying that they're seeing such an increased demand for services in their food pantry, in our budget, we have a line item for food insecurity. We don't really have a process for how to distribute those funds. And I personally believe that having them fill out that whole social service grant maybe is a little bit excessive because it's a smaller amount of money. So I was just wondering if, maybe for some of you veteran trustees, if you have any knowledge of how that was done in the past or suggestions, if anyone has any suggestions or if you know from other municipalities or townships, a process.
So, I mean, the question is just without going through the quote unquote formal process, is there a way that we could? Yes, I suppose there is, maybe, and I think this is not so different than what we did with some of the supplements we had given to, for example, some of the food services last year. There were the three, and I'm not gonna, one was the food pantry, one was
For Food Mart, Community Gardens and stuff.
Community Gardens.
Salvation Army.
And okay, were those the three? And, we had previously identified through the application process that they were qualified, but we basically said there's more money that we think would be beneficial to them. We had asked them to basically submit just a request letter, not
Okay.
terribly detailed, but enough detail that it was very clear what the need was, what the money was going for. If this board is comfortable just based on past practice of the Volunteer Action Center, the Meals on Wheels program, I mean, we could certainly do that. It would be an authorized expense through the boards.
Okay,
So that would be a method to do that.
okay. Thoughts?
Well, I'm not opposed to that. Especially particularly because we've done it before. I also remember that Jenny, I think that was with some cards though, because of COVID. I mean, we
Right.
knew, it's a pandemic. So
Right.
of course, circumstances are different.
Yes.
And when people are hungry, especially elderly, and I'm aging. So I have a
These programs
bias.
are important to you.
Yeah, I have a bias that I didn't have before, I don't think. I'm not opposed to it. I do know that she provided, I think, was it some cards?
Yeah, it was emergency cards. That was in the beginning of COVID, where they had, I believe it was all the cards.
Yeah. So what?
Ducks, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember all the details. What I know is, it doesn't make sense for people to be hungry and afford to help them
Yeah.
eat.
I mean, we have the funds specified for that purpose.
Yeah.
It's just, I wanna agree on a process for, how someone requests those funds. And then how we
I think an additional question is what are the parameters? I seem to be parameters all night, right? What are the parameters in the event that somebody else, it's not VAC, it's not Salvation Army? Can they come and go, hey?
Right, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but according to Illinois Township Code, a organization has to be established in the community for a year, and an established organization means a 501c3.
So, I mean, if one of those comes up and says, hey,
Right, right. I can't open a food pantry in my garage and, expect. the
well,
township to
yeah,
run.
no, but I mean, if another organization, what I don't wanna do is I don't wanna say yes to Salvation Army and back, but then somebody else comes.
Bark
Right.
Food Mart.
Bark Food
Right,
Mart, we
and they
already-
say,
Right,
so-
we already funded.
I think, if I may, but I think you have to be cognizant, about them being DeKalb Township residents. Because there are 19 townships in this county, so someone like Meals on Wheels was back, there's other avenues, I guess, is what I'm getting at for support.
The 24 on the waiting list are DeKalb Township
Oh, okay.
residents. I
So-
was sure to clarify that, yeah.
I just think that should be just something
Mhm,
they keep in mind.
right. Okay, well then, I will get back to these organizations and tell them about a request letter, maybe put some data in there about the numbers that they're serving, maybe last year's numbers, so we can kind of see, the increase in demand.
Kind of similar to the grant request
Mhm.
process anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I was saying, because we have emergency, that begs the question, do we need an emergency process for organizations to request money?
Yeah.
I think that's common.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Were you gonna say something, Brad?
Oh, not particularly. I
Okay.
mean,
I-
we can certainly consider that.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion, and maybe since you and I did the social service grants, we could work on something like
And
that.
just adapt that to an emergency situation,
Mhm. Just like we have for the general public.
right?
And because you mentioned that the VAC person was out ill, that somebody, there ought to be something to say. Like, we wouldn't know that person is out ill. Nobody told us that.
Right,
So
right,
there, if we could create a contingency that says,
right.
if they're extenuating circumstances,
Mhm.
let us know.
Yeah, well, and one thing that I learned this year, being new to the supervisor role is some supervisors, when the grant period opened up, would send an email to previous organizations. I didn't know that was common practice, so I didn't do that. We posted something in the paper, we put it on the radio, we put it on our Facebook page, we put it on our website, but I didn't reach out.
Okay.
And so,
I
I'd
think
be,
that's been common practice for a while, but for a few years.
okay. But, that's definitely something that I can do next year. And I also went through DeKalb County not-for-profit with the community foundation and had them send something out. So I thought I had all my bases covered, but, so, yeah. All right, well, then I will come back next month, hopefully with those request letters. No executive session tonight, no old business. Other business, our next regular DeKalb Township Board meeting is December 8th at 6 p.m. And if there's nothing else, then can I have a motion for adjournment?
So,
Okay, trustee Thurman. Second. Bradwell. Meeting is adjourned at 7, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 7:13. Thank you, everyone, and happy Veterans Day, and then happy Thanksgiving, because we will not.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah.
is that money?